Scaramouche.
Scaramouche. Get out of the shot! You're in the shot right now! Guys, we are here doing a video that we think everyone would appreciate. I don't talk enough about classic music on this channel. I know a fair amount. Chris knows almost as much as I do. That's kind of his wheelhouse, so I wanted to bring him on because we're going to talk about a little band called The Beatles!
We're talking about Queen.
Galileo!
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 Galileo Figaro!
Magnifico! We're not going to keep all this in.
So we're going to talk about some Queen music.
Yeah, so there's a movie coming out called Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. That's their most famous song.
Some would say their opus.
Some would say the greatest song they've ever written. Some would say the greatest song ever written. I think, it's an amazing song. I think, unfortunately, it's been overplayed in the way that some of the other epics like Stairway to Heaven have been overplayed. Doesn't take away from the fact that it's an absolutely majestic song and is worth having a movie about. Now, the movie stars Rami Malek, who is one of my favorite actors because I'm a huge Mr. Robot fan, as Freddie Mercury. So I'm excited to see it. I know...
As a big Queen fan, I have sort of mixed feelings because Rotten Tomatoes tells me that it's not going to be very good.
But Rotten Tomatoes isn't always correct.
With biopics, you always have to take with a grain of salt.
Totally.
Because you get watered down versions, especially when the people that you're making it about are involved. Like, they don't want to look bad. Like, Brian May and Roger Taylor are big hands in this.
Yeah, which is awesome. If they weren't, that would be
which is really cool, but also, it's kind of their perspective.
Sure. Basically, this is not a video for like Queen super fans that want to learn things they've never heard about Queen. This is a video for if you just appreciate Queen or you're trying to appreciate Queen. These are 4 records that I believe are essential to own, and you probably would agree as well.
I would agree, and then I'm probably a few others that I think that we don't own that I think are good for anybody trying to get into Queen. So yeah,
but this is a good starting place, and they're pretty easy to find. So if you go to any store, you'll find them. Don't pay more than $10 for any of these, but yeah. Starting off strong with arguably their best album. What do you think about this album, Chris?
Well, I feel like this is the first album that most people think about when they think about Queen because it features, obviously, Bohemian Rhapsody, which is what we talked about in the beginning, one of their most famous and, masterpieces of a song. But nobody really thinks about jazz, nobody thinks about A Day at the Races, nobody thinks about Sheer Heart Attack, or even Queen 1 or 2.
This is the one.
This is the one.
And so why is it the one? Because each side has iconic song that are some of their biggest songs. Like, a lot of the time in this era, classic albums would be focusing, on 2 songs that were kind of driving it home on the A side and the B side. Good example is Beggar's Banquet by the Rolling Stones had Sympathy for the Devil and Street Fighting Man, respectively, leading side A and B. Really heavy hitters. On this one, I would say, tell me if you agree, You're My Best Friend and Bohemian Rhapsody are 2 of the songs.
Which I believe were the singles off this. I think maybe there was one more that I can't remember.
Maybe Sweet Lady?
Yeah, maybe. But, I mean, like, this is, especially if you've never heard of Queen, now that the movie's coming out, there are a bunch of people posting reaction videos to listening to Bohemian Rhapsody for the first time, which I find it hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that you've never heard Bohemian Rhapsody, but people from all walks of life are just like, oh my god, like, this is incredible, regardless of, where they come from, where their background, and what music they listen to. It's universally accepted as, like, one of the greatest songs of all time.
Well, what's so great about it is that Freddie Mercury's voice is so transcendent that he manages to take opera and pop music and fuse them into something that anyone could appreciate.
Well, they were pioneers. I mean, this is a band comprised of entirely just geniuses. Like,
yes,
Brian May is a PhD. I think John Deacon is a PhD too in astronomy and I think electrical engineering.
Both really good for making music.
Which is crazy. And then Roger Taylor, amazing drummer and great vocalist, which a lot of people don't give him enough credit for.
I actually didn't know.
Him and Freddie did a lot of the vocals, especially in Bohemian Rhapsody. The high parts are all Roger Taylor. If you listen really closely, in the "Let me go" when it trails off, that's all Roger Taylor.
I didn't know that. Facts.
Yes. This is, I think, what really propelled them into, I guess, superstardom. Because prior to this album, I feel like a lot of the albums leading up to it were sort of them trying to find that iconic Queen sound. I feel like they started really honing in on that sound in their 3rd album, Sheer Heart Attack, which is where you start to hear that.
That's where Killer Queen and some of the bigger singles started. This album, I mean, if you go to their first album and listen to what the difference between that and this, it's like a different band.
Right, yeah.
And this is where Freddie Mercury reached icon status. We haven't even said the name of the album yet.
We did. Night at the Opera.
I don't think we did.
We didn't. That's embarrassing.
A Night at the Opera by Queen. This is a video about Queen, by the way.
I think together, I mean, they didn't always see eye to eye musically. Like, they had a lot of, competing ideas, but I feel like that's what made them so great. Mm-hmm. You have a bunch of people that know their craft, know it well, but also can find compromises to make masterpieces like this.
Yeah.
So.
Great album.
It's a great
Essential.
album.
And I also want to mention real fast that if you guys know Vinyl Me Please, the subscription service, their record this month is a reissue of this album. It's going to be, I believe, remastered. There's some like bells and whistles with the packaging, and it's on colored vinyl for what I think is the first time. Really cool pick from them, especially, I guess, timed with the movie. I guess, who would do something timed with the movie to try to get exposure. But if you haven't signed up for Vinyl Me Please, this would probably be a cool month to jump in, and they used to have a referral program, but even though it's not officially on the site anymore, you can still get referral credits. Basically, sign up for the site, let me know, and I'll email them and give them your info and my info, and we'll both get some credit towards their store, which always has awesome titles. So if you're interested in Vinyl Me Please, just sign up and message me, email me, let me know you signed up, and we'll both get some sweet credits.
Hashtag not an ad.
Moving on to news of the world.
Yeah, so this came out, I think this was their 6th album.
Look at that big boy.
Oh, this is going to fall out.
Look at that big boy. He's a big boy.
This is the Iron Giant. Featuring Queen.
This is the soundtrack for the Iron Giant. That's Hogarth.
So this album is really important to a lot of Queen fans because not only is it a great album, but it also features one of the greatest sports anthems of all time.
Everybody get up, it's time to slam now. We got a real jam. No? Is that not on here? Are you sure? Oh, it must have been like a B-side on a single.
A promo version.
Yeah, promo. Alright, go on.
So yeah, We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions.
Which is kind of one track. I mean, they kind of play them together on the radio as one track.
They play them together, and they are one of the most iconic sports anthem songs ever.
Yeah.
Next to the White Stripes, Seven Nation Army.
Yeah. And Space Jam.
This album also featured a shift in sound, I think, from the more like theatrical, operatic sound that we got in Night at the Opera.
A little more aggressive.
This one's a little bit more rock influence or hard rock influence and starts to feature more pop elements.
This came out before Another One Bites the Dust, right?
Yes.
So that's kind of when they start shifting into kind of that Michael Jackson era pop of just like.
Well, this
really
is also
like,
late 70s.
Yeah.
When we're starting to move out of that, disco-y,
right,
feel.
Yeah. This is a great album, and honestly, the sleeper hit on this album is Spread Your Wings. That is a beautiful ballad that not a lot of Queen fans talk about the way they do some of their other ballads. Great album. Now we're moving on to one of Chris's favorites.
Yes. So this was one of the first LPs I ever bought when... Stop it. This was one of the first LPs I ever bought when I was trying to... This was one of the first LPs that I ever bought when I started buying records, which was around the time that I started doing Too Many Records with Matt, when I began cultivating a little collection.
That was a bad influence.
I always liked Queen, but it wasn't until I picked up this album that I really started to get into them. I think I picked it up like 4 or 5 years ago. But it features a ton of songs that I really love. Fat Bottom Girls, Bicycle Race, and Mustafa, which is actually a really weird Bollywood-esque sound, is actually a song that I enjoy. And I think they have Don't Stop Me Now on this. Yeah, Don't Stop Me Now.
Which is that's probably a top 3 Queen song for me. That is just an absolute fireball of a song.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many good songs on this album, and I think that it's up there in like the top 5. I mean, they had a lot of albums.
This is top 3.
14, 15
without a
albums.
doubt.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
I mean, Fat Bottom Girls is like anthemic, and in the way, and it almost harkens back. Bicycle Race kind of harkens back to the Night at the Opera style sound, where it's operatic and kind of.
What I love most about this album is when you put it on, you don't know what the hell you're gonna get. Like,
right.
Every song is pulling in so many different elements from so many different genres that it's Queen at their finest, in my opinion. A lot of people would disagree. I think that, especially when it comes to Queen, you have people that have very different opinions.
But what's weird is that it's not a jazz album.
It's not a jazz album.
But it's called jazz.
But yeah, great album. One of my favorites of theirs. And I feel like anybody should pick that up if they're trying to get to Queen.
Agreed. And finally, You Just Lost the Game.
So I think at this point, Queen was sort of at their peak musically. Like, they had already released, you know, their biggest albums up to this point, and I feel like their sound had started to shift into more of a pop arena. Not to say that they were ever pop, but that they were more poppy. And this was
more like contemporary pop.
Yeah, contemporary pop.
Because I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody is poppy in its own right.
Right, but the sound is not like, you know,
pop
it's
music.
not like pop music. And this one featured Another One Bites the Dust, Crazy Little Thing Called Love, which was written as a tribute to Elvis, which a lot of people think is an Elvis cover song, which is not.
I didn't know that, but of course you can hear obviously hear the inspiration.
It's definitely influenced by Elvis, but it was written by Freddie as a tribute to Elvis. This was like released 2 years after he died.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah. But I mean, this is another one of those albums that just sound authentically Queen. Like, anything that you put on, you'll know it's them. And what's interesting about this is, because of the success of Another One Bites the Dust, Freddie and I think John really wanted to capitalize on that, and they made Hot Space, which is arguably one of the most disappointing albums for fans and critics when it comes to their music.
Interesting. I don't think I've heard it.
It has Under Pressure's on that album,
which I mean was a critical success. I mean,
it was,
Bowie
but it wasn't
Mercury.
recorded for that album.
Yeah.
It was just thrown on that album, which honestly I feel like that would have been a great like collab album, Bowie and Queen, because they had such great ideas in their own right, and together they're just genius. But Hot Space was a letdown. They came back with I think The Works. Everybody was like, okay, this is their return to form. Like, this is authentically Queen. That one had I Want to Break Free. That one had Radio Gaga. That
Featuring
one had
Lady
Hammer
Gaga.
and Fall. And that was right before Live Aid. Yeah.
Oh.
And that's kind of that point in time. Live Aid is where I mark my Queen knowledge, because anything after that, I kind of fall off. I don't know it as well. But they had so many albums after that.
Yeah, I mean, their discography is massive, and diving in seems daunting, but that's why we wanted to do this video, to show you 4 great places to start, and if you like what you hear, you might as well kind of just branch out from there.
The best part about Queen, in my opinion, is that there's something for everyone. It's not just, you know, the same sound overall. Even though you can put on any of their albums and know that it's a Queen album,
sure,
you get different things from each album.
Totally.
What's your favorite Queen song?
I was worried you were going to ask me that, and I feel like I don't have an answer off the top of my head. My favorite Queen song, I mean...
3 hours later.
I think Don't Stop Me Now might be my favorite Queen song. I mean, that's just such an incredible
so
track.
Many good ones. I think Somebody to Love is my favorite.
That's another great one. I mean, what album is that on?
Somebody to Love is on... Hold on.
Is that on Day at the Races?
No, it's on Day and the Races, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was what a lot of people argue is like the son of Bohemian Rhapsody, but it's not as impressive to people, because Bohemian Rhapsody was like, oh my god, this is so new.
Right.
And Somebody to Love was still great in its own right, but not as impressive because Bohemian Rhapsody already existed.
Right.
But yeah, that's my favorite song of all time. I mean, I have so many. Who doesn't? Like,
Yeah.
their greatest hits, like every song you could put it on for somebody and they'll know 80% of that album.
And you know, you could get a greatest hits Queen record and kind of just cover a lot of bases, but I think the band is good enough that you shouldn't do that. You should do their albums justice in full, and you should actually go back to these and give them a full listen, and, you know, treat yourself with the greatest hits after you've dove into their discography, because they're not a one-hit wonder band for each album. They really craft incredible albums front to back, with the exception of a few, but they have so many out that
yeah,
to be
like
expected.
they did like the Flash Gordon soundtrack and then the Highlander soundtrack, which are kind of odd.
Well,
but that's part.
We don't have to talk about that as part of the Queen discography.
Part of their discography. But I mean, they're still good. That's the thing. It's like none of their albums were bad.
Right.
There were just some that were better than others.
Yeah. Are you guys excited for the movie? Are you looking forward to it? What is your favorite Queen song, album? Let us know in the comments. This is going to be a Queen love party. Looking forward to talking to you guys about Queen in the comment section. If you like this video, make sure you're subscribed to Too Many Records. Give it a like. Share it with your friends who are Queen fans. And we look forward to talking to you guys on social about it.
Like, subscribe. More videos soon.